Hello, everyone. This is Molly, and today we are going to be talking about the Problem Gambling Helpline. So we're here to help anyone who is affected by problem gambling understand the available treatment and support options in Ohio, and to make sure that each client has all of the information necessary and as much confidence as possible to connect with local services. The toll-free number for the Problem Gambling Helpline is published on the back of lottery tickets. It's posted in casinos as well as on casino and racino promotional materials, as well as other types of media such as billboards. These calls will generally require a little bit more time than traditional 211 calls, and the primary goal is to encourage callers to connect with treatment and support services. We'll open up the call with the greeting. Thank you for calling the Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline. My name is Molly. How may I help you? So essentially, you're giving your name, you're offering to help, and you're also using Ohio Problem Gambling Helpline in your greeting. We want to make sure that we show empathy right away. And some sample statements are, I'm so glad that you called. It takes a lot of courage to make this first step. You may feel like you're alone right now, but you're not. Use a low tone and speak calmly. And reassure the person and instill hope, using language such as, there is help for you, this is a good start, people can recover from this, and you are not alone. Take some time to explain what the Problem Gambling Helpline is and what we do. Like many 211 callers, helpline callers often have no idea what to expect when they call. The Problem Gambling Helpline is for those affected by problem gambling in the state of Ohio. The toll-free number is published on the back of lottery tickets in casinos and on billboards. And only gambling, tourism, or directory assistance referrals should be made. If the caller has other needs, such as needing financial assistance with bills or debt counseling, do a 211 search and refer, even if the caller is in our 211 service area. It's helpful to use the contact data questions to help guide your conversation. You're not required to ask them in any particular order. And although we are required to ask these questions by our funders, more importantly, asking these questions helps us to gain an understanding of the caller's situation, as well as help to build rapport. However, you want to be careful to ask these questions in a conversational way. It will not help with building rapport if the caller is made to feel like they have to answer a survey in order to get help. Make sure that you explain why you are asking if they are a veteran. This question may seem irrelevant if they don't know that there are specialized treatment options for veterans and that veterans are at a greater risk for having a problem with gambling. You may find the most natural time to perform the lethality assessment is right after collecting that contact data. So the caller has just disclosed to you how gambling is causing problems in their life. So you can easily transition by saying something along the lines of, it sounds like gambling is causing you a lot of stress. And sometimes when people are very stressed, they think about suicide. Have you ever thought about suicide? Okay. So here's just some screenshots of those contact data questions that we are required to ask. Personally, I like to start with what prompted you to call today, or was there something that happened just recently that's causing you to reach out for help right now? And asking that in an open-ended way, oftentimes you're going to get some of the answers to these other required data questions just by allowing that person to talk about their situation and their experiences. If they're at a point to reach out and call, then the caller is in crisis. There may be other issues that are driving the call, such as legal issues, money, relationships, employment, housing, etc. And it is appropriate to ask about problems like this and ask how they're feeling. After building rapport and offering some gambling treatment options, these other issues that they've mentioned are a great way to start a conversation about their local 211 or their local information and referral provider. Suicide completion rates in this population are very high, even more so than with other addictions. And so the topic of suicide needs to be addressed with every call. This goes back to those crisis questions. Something drove that person to take action, and just be aware that you may need to warm transfer the caller to a suicide prevention hotline. And in rare cases, you may need to engage emergency services. Family members may also call in desperation, and the lethality assessment may apply to them as well. So here's a snapshot of that lethality assessment. It's fairly brief. Sometimes when people are stressed or feeling down, they think about suicide. Have you ever thought about suicide? Yes, no, or unsure. If they say yes, then we're going to continue to the next question. Are you currently thinking about suicide? Yes or no, or unsure. If they answer yes, then we'll continue on with the next question. Do you have a specific plan? Yes, no, or other, unsure. And if they do, we will continue on to the last question. Do you have the means to carry out that plan? And then we want to notate if they have taken steps to initiate the plan, if they're about to initiate the plan, if they're not immediately implementing the plan, or if it is suicidal ideation only. Based on the way that the caller answers these questions, we would handle the call differently depending on what their answers are. If they let you know that they have thought about suicide before, or that they are currently thinking about suicide, but don't have a plan or the means to carry out a plan, we're going to get them the phone number as well as offer to warm transfer them to a suicide prevention hotline. If the caller does have a plan and also has the means to carry out the plan, and intend to, and either have initiated started to initiate the plan or they're about to initiate the plan. In that circumstance, we are going to use refer to find the municipal police department in their area, and then engage the police. Okay. You can use the category search to find problem gambling resources. So you'll see the resource team laid it out so that we could very quickly and simply find the resources that we are looking for. And counseling and treatment. Programs that offer gambling counseling and treatment connect clients with one-on-one professional assessment and counseling and an organized course of treatment based on the client's individual circumstances. Gambling counseling and treatment is available at no cost to the client at publicly funded treatment agencies. Other agencies may offer an income-based sliding scale. Medicaid is a primary payer, then private insurance if they have it, and lastly, the state allocation that pays for gambling disorder treatment through the local ADAMS board. When making treatment referrals, offer at least one no-cost option to the caller. Gambling support groups and families and friends of compulsive gamblers support groups provide those affected by problem gambling additional recovery support through organized meetings with groups of peers experiencing similar issues. Gamblers Anonymous and Smart Recovery have nationwide numbers to find local meetings for persons with gambling addiction. You can find them under the taxonomy Gambling Support Groups. Gamblers Anonymous is a support group that uses the 12-step approach similar to AA. Smart Recovery is a general addiction support group that utilizes a 4-point scientific approach. It may be a better fit for someone who is uncomfortable with a 12-step spiritual philosophy. Friends or families of the gambling addict can benefit from support too. Gam-Anon and Families Anonymous can offer guidance and support to those who have a loved one who has a problem with gambling. You can find either group using the taxonomy Families or Friends of Compulsive Gamblers support groups. Gam-Anon is specifically for families and friends of compulsive gamblers. Families Anonymous is for families and friends of those with any type of addiction. Offer support for all family members and friends of problem gamblers who call. Voluntary Exclusion Program, also referred to as VEP, and it is also known as self-exclusion. So don't recommend this. We have this information in the database for cases when somebody specifically asks for it. Even when somebody specifically requests information about self-exclusion, we want to offer and discuss other treatment options as well. Self-exclusion does not independently address problem gambling behaviors. It just legally prevents someone from claiming winnings at regulated casinos and also puts them at risk of being arrested for trespassing if they're found on site. This is something that may be suggested by a counselor during the course of treatment, and it is generally not something that's initially addressed, but something that would come a little bit later on in the treatment process. We shouldn't think of self-exclusion as a cure for problem gambling. It is simply just one potential tool in the tool belt for treatment. Those who sign up for VEP must do so in person and must present a photo ID. They can walk into any Ohio casino at any time and ask to speak with a responsible gaming ambassador in order to register. They can also call the Ohio Casino Control Commission and schedule an appointment, either at the main site in Columbus, or they can schedule an appointment at an off-site location and meet the caller closer to where they live. You cannot exclude a friend or family member. You can only exclude yourself. Those who elect VEP have the option of a 1-year, 5-year, or a lifetime ban. They can choose if they want to ban themselves from a single casino, all of the casinos in Ohio, and then just to note, doing that does not include the racinos, only the casinos. Or they can elect to exclude themselves from all of the properties operated by a single gaming company. So, for example, the two main gaming companies in Ohio would be Penn National Gaming or Jack Entertainment. So if an individual elects to exclude themselves from all of either one of these entertainment properties, those do include some racinos. Once you sign up for the voluntary exclusion program, you cannot have your name removed from the list. So this is very important. You may get some callers with questions on how they can remove their name from the list, and they can't. They either have to wait out the time limit if they had initially opted for a 1-year or a 5-year ban, or if they have signed themselves up for a lifetime ban, there's no way to remove themselves from that. Okay, populations who are at risk: older adults, adolescents, males age 18 through 34, veterans, those who've suffered a traumatic brain injury, those who have PTSD, those who've experienced trauma, and those who are taking medications for Parkinson's and for restless leg syndrome. Among pathological gamblers, alcohol has been found to be the most common substance of abuse. At minimum, the rate of problem gambling among people with substance use disorders is 4 to 5 times that found in the general population. Many problem gamblers also have co-occurring mental health conditions, most commonly depression, anxiety, bipolar, or ADHD. If the gambler needs additional referrals for a co-occurring condition or addiction, refer them to their local 211 or information and referral agency. For co-occurring addictions, you may also refer to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's national hotline. You can find it using the taxonomy, substance use related hotlines. Partners of problem gamblers are more likely to be victims of domestic violence than the general population. Refer to caller's local 211, information and referral agency, or to the National Domestic Violence Hotline when appropriate. Many callers will reach us in error. The Problem Gambling Helpline is heavily promoted at the casinos, racinos, and through the Ohio Lottery. Sometimes callers will see our number and mistakenly think it is the number for a casino, racino, or the Ohio Lottery. We are not able to provide callers with the phone numbers to the casinos or racinos. Instead, search for tourist information if the caller is planning a trip, or simply directory assistance. We are able to give callers the customer service number for the Ohio Lottery. You can find it using the taxonomy lotteries. Reason for this is the Ohio Lottery is one of the funders for this program. During the closing of the call, before you're ending, you want to ask if they have any questions about anything that you've been over so far. Like with other calls, ensure that your clients feel like they have a solid plan for making the next step. Offer information about their local 211. If they need help with services outside of the scope of the Problem Gambling Helpline, such as financial assistance, budgeting assistance, things along those lines. And make sure that they have our phone number, which is 1-800-589-9966, and remind them that we are open 24/7 if they need further assistance. Thank you.